All right, guys. So I tried to do a wireless, but it was difficult to do a wireless lab because the wireless adapter only work in Mac OS and Linux, and in Windows. It doesn't work in Linux. So what I did was basically to create a connection between the two machines. It was already created. Basically, I have the Rocky Linux in one side and the Alma Linux in the other one. The first thing I did was a ping test for 192 and 168.80.130 to ping the Rocky Linux IP address, and that is my own IP address. 129 for the Alma Linux and 130 for the Rocky Linux. So at this specific time, I am sending a ping from one PC to another. I am running two virtual machines at the same time. Control C to end the command and Control C to end the command. I'm going to do the following. From the Rocky Linux, I'm going to do a trace route. Trace route 192 and 168. That 80, the 129 is only one hop away. You can see that. Now let's do the same here. Trace route 192 and 168. That 80, that 130. Trace route doesn't exist. That means we have to install it. Sudo dnf install trace route. It might take a couple of seconds if I am able to remember my password. Yes. So I'm downloading the package in order to install the trace route and in order to get from one destination to another. So right now I'm going to run that command again and it's worked successfully. I'm going to do maybe instead of Google, let's try with msn.com to see if we're able to get a different result. And what about this one? Trace route. Let me try www.yahoo.com, for example. I'm trying to see if I get a different result, but I keep getting the firewall. So it doesn't really change. It's the same that we got in the previous lesson. So it is blocking the access. So I didn't get anything different from the previous lesson. Route minus N is going to give us the routing table where you have the IP addresses. You have the IP address for the network related to the router that we are attached to and the default gateway. Let's run the same command there, route -n, and we have basically the same information. IP add, remember that you are able to see the IP addresses information there. And if you want to see everything there for all the IP addresses, if config -a, those are basically it. If config and then -a, the letter A as an apple. So that is pretty much everything that we need to continue learning regarding the networking and IP addresses. I'm trying to see if there is something else that I'm missing today. You already know how to troubleshoot basic connectivity problems. Most of it. Okay, in fact, we are running through a remote server and there is a network connectivity when we are running the SSH server connectivity. So do you remember how we check the service, the process for that? Basically, is the following way. We have to run the following command: sudo systemctl status sshd that service. There you go. Basically, the SSH service is there. SSHD only. You can see the service of the process related to the SSH. Let's run the command there again. Sudo systemctl, then status sshd. After adding the password, of course, we are able to see the successful connection and the SSH server. Take a look at this. It is very interesting that it is giving us some important information. We are Starting the OpenSSH server daemon, that is the process, is listening through the port 22, with the port 22 on the IP address 0000. Now, the failed password, there is the log for the failed password when I type the password incorrectly the first time at some point, and then the accepted password for the 192.168.80.1. You see the port 68.186, and now you have another port 63. The first one was 63.186, and the second one is 63.187. We are using the SSH2. And at the end, you see this session is open. I am able to access the server via SSH. Q in order to quit this information. Now, how can we check most of the services? If we run, I think it was about 3 and then init, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm going to check that in a moment. Let me just stop the recording for a second and I'll be right back with you. All right, so first thing we need to do is run sudo dnf install ps miscellaneous, MIISC. Now, we're going to type the following command first in the Rocky server, sudo ps3. And we are going to run that one in Alma Linux as well. So it will be sudo ps3. Now, it's basically the same processes, most of them. We don't see much different. You can see like a very nice tree with all of the different processes that run in our operating system. Look at that. And the command is only sudo space ps3. Now, if you don't have tree installed in your computer, you have to run the following command, sudo dnf, and then install, and then tree. It's important for you to install this package if you don't have it, so you can see this graphic the way we are seeing it. Look at that. Let me just pause the recording to do some research. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so I was working along with GTP chat in order to ask him for another set of commands, and it showed me, for example, that we have the IP route command. I think we saw this one in previous lessons. So that is the IP route to see all of the IP addresses in the routing table. We can run that command in both servers. Let me just run that IP route there. There you go. Now, another important command that we didn't go into detail is the IP link. So let me just copy that one, sudo IP link. It's basically the same. It's very similar. It will show us information regarding the IP addresses installed in our operating system. Let me see if there are more important commands that we hadn't covered deeply. We covered the ifconfig, of course. We can use this one to power up and power down the Ethernet interface. We are not going to do so, but please be aware that command is possible. We can run that command. We already have knowledge about the ping command and the traceroute. So those are some commands. Let me go ahead and copy this one regarding the active connections. Let's go ahead and run this one. Look at that. Look at that. It's very interesting. So this command is netstat space dash TULN. TULN. So netstat space dash TULN. We run that command both sides. We are able to see in both servers all of the connections, the active connections. They are listening in different ports, the TCP port, the TCP with different protocols. They are listening with different protocols like TCP, UDP, UDP6, and TCP6. Now, they are different protocols, but you can see the ports are different. The ports and the IP addresses, you see port 6010, 22, 37971, the port 111, the port, for example, let's see, 248, the port 22, all of those ports and the different IP addresses related to them. So the command again is netstat space dash TULN. So you can see all of the active, internet active connections. It only works in servers. That is a little bit of warning that we have there. Let me see another command. Let me just copy this one. Looks like we might be able to run this other command. It is SS space dash TULN. Also another way to look at all the different active connections. Look at that. There's a little bit less connections in the Alma Linux server than the Rocky Linux server. So you can see it. It's very, very interesting. All the options that we have there with this command, looking at the active connections. Let's continue with the step-by-step guide. This one, I'm not including this guide, but you can actually run the commands yourself and stop the recording. And it's important that you practice. That's the reason because I didn't include this specific guide. It's also an improvised lesson. So let me go ahead and run this dvic command. So I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to do some changes there. Let me do with google.com, for example. There you go, Vic, and then google.com. Now, what does it does? Basically, this command helps us with the translation, with the DNS record information regarding the domain name server translation that it does. So we have here some information. For example, we have the server IP address, the port 53. We have some information regarding the IP address that is translated from the Google server, for example. Look at that. It is the exact same IP address. Let me go ahead and see if we have more additional commands. NSLOOKUP, very important command. Let's run NSLOOKUP here and msn.com. There you go, another one. Very interesting there. You can actually see the translation, the name, and the IP address related to that specific domain. Let's go there with the same command. Let me just copy this one there and paste it there. There you go. See the domain name, and you see the IP address related to that specific domain name, which was translated. The service for this translation is called DNS service. DNS service. Look, we are learning a lot today. What about this one? This is for CORS. This is to transfer data from one server to another. You can actually use the core. We're not going to go too deeply into this. If you need to download like a package from a web server, you can use the wget command in order to download a specific package. Or if you need to change the host name, you can actually change it with the sudo hostname ctl set hostname and change it to a new host name. And finally, we went over this one before, but we're going to run it just in case, just to double check there. nmcli connection show. That is another command that we were over the last couple of lessons. And it was another one. I remember there was another one. It was actually device show. So the same one, but we will have device show. It is actually a lot of information, very useful information. Let me run this one over there, device show. There you go. It is actually longer than we anticipated. Remember, you can use the space to go from one page to another one. And if you want to quit this, the letter Q, and you're out. What about this one? We didn't have to quit in this one. All right, let me see if there is any additional information. There is the loopback, there is the local IP address, there is the MAC address of the equipment, the Ethernet, and the name of the network. The name of the network. There is a last command. We're going to see if it works because I'm not sure if it works in this specifically. It works in the Rocky. We can actually use this command is nmtui. nmtui. And basically it's to have like a graphical interface and edit information. You see the Ethernet there. Let me just go back. I'm wondering if with this one, we have the option. Let me just run a quick a quit real quick. Let me see something. Let me see if I'm able to get the adapter somehow to display, because I tried, but it didn't work in the removable adapter. I'm going to connect to that specific adapter and see if hopefully there is any improvement. So I am connected right now. I'm going to try with this one to see if we are able to see it. NM2E. Let's go ahead and try. Let me just quit from here real quick. I'm going to run it again and see if there is more information about the connections. No, it looks like that it is a very nice interface where you can actually troubleshoot and edit your connection. Let's see, you see here, you can actually troubleshoot and edit the connection, but the wireless adapter was not discovered. Even though that we did our very best and we try, but it was not discovered. See, you can set the host name here if you want to. This one is basically to add some information. Now, in order to really do the changes, you will have to do a sudo nm2e. Remember, in order to do the changes, host name, let's change this to Alma Linux. Okay. Let's just go ahead and quit for now. And let's run it here. Remember, sudo and then nm2e. After adding the password, we are able to change the host name to Rocky Linux. Okay, let me just click on OK. Hopefully, we are able to quit now. Ah, look at that. What happened if I click on cat etc and then host? I'm wondering if it was changed there or not. It wasn't really changed there. I thought it was, but it wasn't really changed. We're going to edit something that I tried to cover in another lesson, but I was not able to. It was regarding that problem with the adapter, that it only working in. All right, I have to cancel this one for now. I have to cancel. I have to run this with sudo in order to do the changes. So I have to do a sudo there, so I can do the changes. Control X, Control O, Control X. And what it does basically is, in case we need to edit the information, sudo nano /etc/host. In case we need to edit this information for the host, we can actually do it. We're not going to really do many changes there, but please be aware it exists, and you can actually add, for example, if you are trying to add a host device and a specific host device, let's say a mail server, which IP address is, for example, 192.168.101, and then the name of the server is mail server. Control O, Control X, yes. All right, I tried, but I don't know if it worked. Let me just run a cat to see if it was saved successfully. And there it is. It was saved successfully. So that's basically the way it works. You are able to change information regarding the host and add those information, those names to a specific IP address for those devices. So you can relate it. We're going to delete it because we are not really doing this change. I just wanted to show you so you can have a better idea and understanding the way that hosts work. And that is pretty much everything for today's lessons. I think that we have learned a lot, improved a lot, practice a lot of commands. Remember to practice, practice, and more practice, because practice makes perfect. So have an amazing day and an amazing week, and take care, guys. It's been a pleasure. Goodbye.